So today's notes are graphing slope-intercept form, day 2. Just a reminder, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. So take a second, pause the video, get the steps down at the top written down. This one does have an extra step because for today's notes, the equations that were given aren't already going to be given in the y equals mx plus b form. So step 1, make sure your equation is in y equals mx plus b form. If it isn't, we need to solve for y, isolate y to get it by itself and in this order. And then step 2, 3, and 4 end up being the same steps as the previous day. So step 2, plot b on the y-axis. Step 3, use the slope to plot another point from the y-intercept, which is our b value. And then step 4, draw a line connecting those 2 points. So if we look at example 1, it says graph x plus y equals 4. So right now this is not in slope-intercept form, not in y equals mx plus b form. In order to get it in that form, I need to get y by itself. So I want to do something that undoes this positive x. So to undo this positive x, I'm going to subtract x from both sides. So it'll cancel out on the left side. I can bring down the y. And then I can't actually subtract x from 4. So not like terms or something, anything like that. I do want to make sure it's in the right order though. So when it's in slope-intercept form, the x term comes first and then the constant comes second. So instead of 4 minus x, I'm going to write this as negative x plus 4. Because this is a negative x if I'm subtracting it, and then positive 4. So y equals negative x plus 4 is the line that we're going to graph. And then next we'll identify m and b. So for m, we know that m is the number that gets multiplied by x, but I don't see a number multiplied by x, I just see a negative sign. But remember, anytime you don't see a number, there is an implied 1 there. So there's this negative 1 in front of x, so my slope is negative 1. So anytime there's no number, we don't see a number, there's a 1 there. If we just see a negative sign, it's negative 1. And then my b is the constant that's added after, so b is 4. And then we're ready to set up the x and y axis. I need to set up my tick marks so that I can fit my whole graph on there, and I'm starting at 4. So I want to make my tick marks pretty close together so that I can fit up to the y-intercept of 4. Same thing as before, just try to make them a similar spacing. It's okay if they're not perfect, but they should be as close as possible to the same. And then if you ever don't make enough tick marks, you can always extend your x and y axis to give yourself a little bit more space. And then each tick mark is going to be 1 unit. So if m is negative 1 and b is 4, b is where we begin. So I'm going to go to 4 on my y axis. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if my slope is negative 1, remember that it's helpful to see slope as a fraction because slope is rise over run. So any number that's not a fraction, I can write it over 1. And then if my rise is negative 1, I have to go down 1. And my run is 1, so I'm going to go right 1. So from 0, 4, I'm going to go down 1, right 1. I can make an extra point if I want. I can go down 1, right 1. You only technically need 2 points, but especially if you're not using graph paper, the more points you have, the more accurate your graph will be. And then extend through your points and finish with arrows. And then for example 2, graph 2x minus 3y equals 9. So for now, this is definitely not in y equals mx plus b form, so I need to get y by itself. So remember that when we're getting y by itself, we follow those same operations as when we're solving. So I can undo this positive 2x first, and then I can divide by negative 3. So I need to move the 2x over first by subtracting it, then I can divide. So because this is a positive 2x, this negative belongs to the 3. This is a positive 2x, so to undo it on this side, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And then I need to bring down the negative 3y. It can't just drop the negative. It has to stay attached to the 3 for now. And then this is 9 minus 2x, but I know I want my x term to come first, so that it's in y equals mx plus b form. So instead of 9 minus 2x, I'm going to move the negative 2x to the front and make it negative 2x plus 9. And then I'm still working towards getting y by itself. Right now, negative 3 is being multiplied by y, so I have to undo multiplying by negative 3 by dividing both sides by negative 3. So multiplying by negative 3 and dividing by negative 3 cancel each other out, and I'm just left with y. And then we're going to separate this into two different fractions. So we're going to divide both of these numbers by negative 3. So negative 2x divided by negative 3. 2 isn't divisible by 3, so we can't really actually divide it, but a negative divided by negative, those cancel each other out, and then it's a positive. So a negative divided by a negative is a positive, so that becomes positive 2/3 x. So one more time, negative 2/3 x divided by negative 3. I can't really divide 2 by 3, so I have to leave it as a fraction. But a negative divided by a negative does become a positive. So positive 2/3 x plus 3, or sorry, negative 2/3 x, and then 9 divided by negative 3. So a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So 9 divided by negative 3 is negative 3. So y equals 2/3 x minus 3. And then now I can see what my slope and y-intercept are. My slope is the number multiplied by x, so m is 2/3. And then b is the constant, so in this case the constant is negative 3, so b equals negative 3. And then I can start setting up my graph. Just remember to continue to use a straight edge when you're graphing, so that your graphs can be as accurate and as clean as possible. And then each tick mark is going to be worth 1 unit. So if my b is negative 3, that's where I'm starting on the y-axis. So on the y-axis, I have to go down 1, 2, 3 to 0, negative 3, and make a point there. And then my slope is 2/3. It's positive 2/3, so that means my rise is 2. So I'm going to go up 2. My run is 3, so I'm going to go right 3. So from 0, negative 3, I'll go up 1, 2, and then right 1, 2, 3. If you want, you can add another point to make it more accurate. My rise was 2, 1, 2. My run was 3, 1, 2, 3. And then I can connect those points. Make sure that your line extends through all the points, and then you finish it with arrows. And then remember, you can always double check at least whether your slope is going in the right direction, whether it's positive or negative, really quickly. So for example 1, I had a slope of negative 1, and my graph went down and to the right. For number 2, I had a positive 2/3 slope, my graph went up and to the right. And then for example 3, x plus 2y equals negative 8. Not in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, so we need to get y by itself. So we'll have to undo the addition first. So an x is being added to y, or to 2y. So in order to undo that positive x, I'm going to subtract x from both sides. The x minus x cancels out. I can bring down the 2y. And then I have negative 8 minus x, but we want to write it with the x term first, since it's so we can get it in y equals mx plus b form. So it would be negative x minus 8. And then from there, I have 2 multiplied by y. So to get y completely by itself, I'm going to have to divide both sides by 2. So dividing by 2 cancels out multiplying by 2, and I'm just left with y on the left. And then now we need to divide both of these terms by 2. So remember, if we don't see a number in front of x, it's a 1. So this is a negative 1x. So negative 1x divided by 2. This is a little bit tricky. So negative 1 divided by 2, and then the x will just tag along like it did up here. Negative 1 divided by 2 is negative 1/2. And then we just write the x right after. And then negative 8 divided by 2 is negative 4. So one more time like we did up here, we divided negative 2 by negative 3, and the negative divided by the negative canceled out, so we got positive 2/3. This is a negative 1x divided by 2, so we're going to divide the negative 1 by 2 to get negative 1/2, and then the x will tag along. So y equals negative 1/2 x minus 4, and now we can see what our slope and y-intercept are. So our slope is the number multiplied by x, so m equals negative 1/2. I have a fraction that's negative, so I'm going to assign the negative to the numerator. It needs to go to one or the other, so it can't go to both. It needs to go to one or the other, the numerator or denominator. And then my y-intercept, or the constant, is negative 4. And then I'm ready to set up my graph. And then each tick mark is worth 1 unit. So my m is negative 1/2, my b is negative 4, so I have to begin at negative 4 on the y-axis. So down 1, 2, 3, 4 to 0, negative 4. And then if my m is negative 1/2, or negative 1 over 2, my rise is going to be down 1, since it's negative, and my run is positive 2. So down 1 from my y-intercept, I can go down 1 and then right 1, 2. I can get another point to make it more accurate, down 1 over 1, 2. And then I can connect those points. So back to what I said earlier about how if you have a negative slope, you need to assign the negative number to either the numerator or the denominator, not both. Had we gone 1 over negative 2 and made our rise up 1 and our run left 2, that's fine. We would have ended up with a point on this line, because if we start here and we go up 1, left 1, 2, it falls in the same line. It's just important that the negative only goes to one of them.